this particular scenario, you've all been granted permission to go back in time. You've been handed several sheets of glossy paper. Each sheet of paper has one word written on it. This word has the ability to not only resonate with a person that it's gifted to, but the first word on the first sheet of paper, guys and gals, can actually allow the person holding it to become that very word. The first word is dignity. The second word on the next sheet of paper is humility. And finally, the third word on the final sheet of paper is selfless.
Most dignified man I've ever met in my life. His name was Henry Louis Aaron. As a young man, Hank Aaron loaded freight trains. He worked at a shoe repair place. He delivered groceries, anything to help this family of 12 in Alabama. And on the side, he played some baseball. And to show you how dignified he was, when Barry Bonds, who was controversial, was attached to the steroid era, wrote Hank Aaron's record, he not only celebrated it and honored it and accepted it, he was on the Jumbotron in San Francisco moments after it happened, congratulating Barry Bonds. That's a dignified man. The second one is also a former athlete. He won the most Olympic events in one day, in one Olympics, in the history of the Olympics. I'm talking about Jesse Owens. He won the long jump, he won the 100-yard dash, he won the 220-yard dash. And who did he do it in front of? The most scurrilous man in the history of the world, possibly, Adolf Hitler. As Jesse Owens was walking out, he saw Hitler and he turned and he waved at him. And somebody said, "Why would you do that?" And he said, "You do not criticize a man in his own house." Worst man in the history of the world, but he had enough respect that he was in Hitler's house. He didn't act like he was bigger than the Olympics or bigger than the Olympic team. In Berlin, and when he played, when he was in college, he could not eat with the white players in a restaurant. In Berlin, he couldn't stay in the same hotel with them. He went out and accomplished more than all of them combined. Now we go to the third. This person did not participate in sports, but one of the great selfless people, unselfish people in the history of the world. And we call her Mother Teresa, who went to India and devoted her entire life to being a nun that had the missionaries of charity. She is a saint. She ended up having missionaries in 133 countries dealing with tuberculosis, AIDS, leprosy, and she's still celebrated throughout the world today. And I just think that Mother Teresa, if you were to look up the word in the dictionary, unselfish, selfless, you would see a picture of Mother Teresa.
I found this person named Fannie Lou Hamer. Now, Fannie Lou Hamer, which her name was Townsend at one time, she was an American voting and women's rights activist, community organizer, and the leader of the civil rights movement. She was from Montgomery County, Mississippi, from 20 kids from Lou, Ella, and James Lee Townsend. Now, they were sharecroppers. At age 6, Hamer picked cotton for her family. By age 13, she would pick 200 and 300 pounds of cotton daily. So she comes from that sharecropper's mentality. Here's where it gets deep. In 1961, a white doctor, subjected Hamer to a hysterectomy. And without her consent, while she was undergoing surgery to remove a uterine tumor. So, and that was called the forced sterilization, which was a common method of population control in Mississippi that targeted Black African American women. She continued going on registering voters. In August of '62, Hamer and 17 others attempted to vote but failed a literacy test, which meant they could not vote. On December 4th, just after she refused from her hometown, Hamer went to the courthouse in Indianola, where she took the test again, but she failed it again, and she was turned away. She kept taking the test and kept taking the test until she was successful. Now, let's go for that. The key of it was that she went through some situations with brutality through all this. She was returning from a voter registration workshop from Southern Christian Leadership Conference. I wrote these things down so I wouldn't miss them out. The police ensured they pulled her to the side. They ensured they held her down. They beat her. They groped her. They raped her. What makes this really more interesting is the fact that she continued to fight and to fight and to fight. How many people can you fail to be for humility? I picked one guy, and it's really interesting how I picked him. Pope Francis. Throughout his papacy, Francis was noted for his humility, his emphasis on God's mercy, international visibility, commitment to interreligious dialogue, and concern for the poor, migrants, and refugees. He was open to having people have dialogue to talk about what was best to do things.
And finally, which historical figure receives the final sheet of paper and why?
And this one person I want to tell you who it is, real quickly, and I'm not going to be long. In Philadelphia, I was raised next door to a woman named Novella Williams. She was our Martin Luther King in Philadelphia. And she was one of the major keys of bringing a bridge between, you remember Frank Rizzo, who was the mayor of Philadelphia. Frank Rizzo was a commissioner. He was, excuse my French, he was a badass. He didn't take no ass. But she was the one that would make Frank come to her house and sit down. And Frank, being stubborn as he was, he would sit down, he'd listen, and she helped him have a better bridge with black folks. So when you talk about selfless, she was out there every single day with guys that were beating people upside their head at that time in the 60s.
Selfless, I have to say Jesus Christ, I think he was the ultimate person that put everybody before him. And, that's my belief. And, I just believe that he was a unique, and he's my Lord and Savior. So, I feel comfortable in saying that. And, it doesn't fit my, MO as a pro wrestler, but I don't care. I grew up in Texas, and I grew up in the 50s, and black people had to go to their own school, and it was before it was integrated and everything. And I got to know a couple of the little kids that was around my age that used to walk past my granddad's house, and we ended up playing Army and everything, and we had a good time, And my grandmother was really she grew up at an earlier time where she really saw a lot of prejudice, and she hated it, and she went out of her way to make amends for a lot of things, and that taught me a great lesson. Well, in humility, again, I think of, I always thought Billy Graham, the evangelist, he held a strong standard to himself and to his organization. I used to listen to him when I was over in Japan. I got to go to the Tokyo Dome and see him right before he passed away, and it was really, it was a lifelong dream of me being able to see Billy Graham.
If you could paint a picture that illustrates personal happiness and joy for the year 2026, how would you describe it? What would you title it, and why?
And I underwent cancer, and I was declared cancer-free after the surgery and test results.
Awesome.
Keep saying Shannon because since then my daughter's been diagnosed with breast cancer. So the painting in 2026 of happiness would be that my daughter's cancer-free, that I'm cancer-free, that we have a memory of my mom and my daughter. Everybody in this country would be aware in November, it's Breast Cancer Awareness Month. We're here in May. There's nothing more valuable, nothing more soulful, nothing more heartful than the women in our lives. I want a painting in 2026 of maybe, if you remember the Beatles album, Sgt. Pepper's, where it would be nothing but women, cancer-free, and themselves. That's the painting I want it to be called Jen.
I think it'd be real simple. One of the things that I have a passion for, the seeing that will be fixed, is the homelessness. That is major, especially the homelessness of the veterans that came back from war. We got guys that are making $230 million in basketball. We got other guys making $600 million in every sport. And you mean to tell me we can't find a way to fix this? I'm going to put together some type of coalition, some type of way, and that's just all areas in their own right. You know, you got different sides, like, as you guys know. There's sometimes a black area here and a white area there, but you still got to fix your community what it is. So I'm going to try to get this together and work. And my picture is to contain, I can't stop homelessness, but contain it from where I live and in my area. And that means if I got to go sit on Oprah Winfrey's steps, I will. If I got to sit on somebody's steps just to get any kind of help, I want to see this be contained.
Oh, grandkids. I got a bunch of grandkids, and man, they're all t-ball playing, soccer playing. To me, that's God's gift to see those grandkids, you know, grow up, compete, learn to play, treat others with respect on the field and everything. So I'm really impressed. And I really love seeing my grandkids do the good things in life.
But guys and gals and pals, let's play a very quick game of I'd Pay. Mr. Gene Banks, again, these are a trio of options that are meant to be wacky. If you had to pay for the following, which would you pay to see and why? Rocky Balboa is a neurosurgeon, Seinfeld is a correctional officer, or Rambo is a talk show host?
I have to do Rocky.
Rocky's a neurosurgeon. Yeah. This is the one time Mickey shouldn't be in the room with Rocky, right?
Adrian, hand me the scalpel. Hand me the scalpel.
You gotta put it that way, Rock. Not that way, this way. How about Stan Hansen? Same question for you.
Rambo is the talk show host.
Wouldn't be a lot of talking.
Well, he wouldn't make a whole lot of sense, but
cut straight to the point with that knife. And of course, Mr. Woody Paige.
Oddly enough, I was in the last Rocky Balboa movie.
Yes.
It was called Rocky 6, basically. And so I wouldn't pay to see him. He told me, this is the answer. He said, Woody, you're overacting. And I went, that's what I do is overact.
The show, your belief in me, your hospitality, and your friendship is something I carry with me every day over here and over here, my friend.
Wow. Well, thank you. You know, listen, the way I was in wrestling, I can count my friends on one hand. Well, wait, on one finger. You.
Oh, man. Thank you so much, my friend.